Hello, hello again. We are
Hello.
back.
Yay. We are back. We are back.
And
Um,
today we're going to talk about kind of what
I
we,
think we want to talk about, why we came together to do what we're
yeah,
doing. I don't think we've explained that to people. We've talked about celebrities and what it means to age and plastic surgery or not,
all the
um,
things.
all
But
the
today let's
things, but
talk about
not
why.
really,
Yeah,
not the why.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so
So I
Tracy and
think
I met, what, 4 years ago now? I'm not really sure, 2021. We've kind of moved.
probably it
Some
was,
of
well,
the
it was
coaches
in
we
Amy's
probably
group,
met
right?
online was a different coach.
Yeah, it was in Amy's Witch Bitch Whore group.
Yeah, and we've just kind of stayed in touch, but we've been in a lot of the same containers or programs, and containers are just like group programs. That's a jargony word that people throw around a little
Yeah.
bit. It just means a group of people,
Yeah.
and usually an online course of some kind, typically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've been in some of the same ones, we've been in some different ones, and I am in the US, in the South, in the Texas. She is in
I'm
Canada.
in the north. I'm in Canada.
And it's interesting because even though we're in a lot of the same circles, sometimes our perspectives are completely different because you don't realize what you don't know that you don't know about other countries and what
Until you don't, until
and
you,
how it's done, and even
yeah.
worldview about how they look at people and things. And some of it's very similar, but some of it's also very different.
Oh, yeah. I've learned some rather mind-boggling stuff about the US from you. So, yeah, it's been interesting. And through the course of those discussions, we found that we have similar views on things and different views on things, which makes things interesting. And through all of that, based on Dawn's work and my work, we kind of felt they sort of were a little symbiotic. They
Yeah.
meshed really well together, and we kind of talked about the idea of combining our talents to kind of create a two-in-one, two-for-one coaching
Yes, because like I think we
community
touched on
container.
this in last week's episode, that we found like you could get one thing, like usually a container or a program or a coaching program, it's focused on one singular thing. It's mindset or confidence or overcoming
Business or
fear.
money or
It
yeah.
could be money, or it could be fashion. But we're like, well, what if you do one but you don't, if you do the internal without the external, it doesn't work. And if you do the external without the internal, it doesn't work. It doesn't last. It does work.
It works, but
It
yeah,
doesn't
sometimes it's
last.
hard to maintain
It
because
is.
we as human beings, we are creatures of habit, and yeah, without having that sort of extra level,
Yes.
we're just going to fall back into our old patterns. I mean, I've done it.
Oh
I've
yes,
done
a
it.
thousand times. A thousand. I mean, I have taken so many programs and so many courses. I've been to Tony Robbins events, for Pete's sake. And during
Yeah.
those events, you are on fire. You just know you've changed your entire life for the and for generations to come. And about
Yeah.
3 weeks after, when real
Yeah.
life sets in, you realize you really didn't have it as grounded as you thought you did. It's like inside your head, you might believe it, but your external self doesn't show up like that.
Which I think also goes to, sorry, my bangs are starting to get long and they're getting caught in my glasses if I keep playing with my bangs. Um, I think, yeah, you know it up here or you know it in here, but it's also having that, it's not just the grounding in, which we always talk about, right?
Right,
Like that embodiment, which is such
right.
a coaching word, right? um, I think it also goes to having accountability as well, a community of people that you can reach out to who kind of maybe know a little bit about what you're going through, or maybe like you met somebody at the Tony Robbins thing that you jived with, right? And so you're
Right.
able to communicate with them, where so I found that putting this coaching community, container, business, whatever you want to call it, together, it's kind of like playing a team sport. You're
Yeah.
accountable to someone, right? Like you have to show up, you have to do. And so I feel like you working on the mindset, me working on the outer style, all that sort of stuff kind of holds us accountable to each other,
It does.
like, oh, I'm not doing X, what's Dawn gonna say? And um, or wow, I'm not showing up the way I want to, so what should I put on because I know we're going to go live or whatever.
Right.
And that's, I think, the community that we sort of want to put together with this holy woman becoming holy, is what sort of community can we create for older women who have been feeling invisible, who are kind of like not sure of themselves anymore. They're empty nesters. And so,
Yeah.
we are the start of that accountability, but then within the community, who can they, you know, resonate with,
Right. Who can they
jive
team up
with,
with? Yeah.
and
Because again, making friendships or any type of as an adult is hard.
oh,
And
yeah,
especially with so many people working remotely, you're not at the office anymore or out in the world. And ever since the pandemic, most of us don't even want to go out into the world. We've decided we
no.
actually don't want to, which is a
The
problem
out
in itself. It's a whole
the
different
outside
problem.
world is too peoply.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to be people. You hear that everywhere. I don't want to people anymore because it's exhausting.
It is.
And it's hard enough we tell our kids, "Oh, go make some friends," when we don't even know how to do it. Because
Yeah.
again, making friends means putting yourself out there. That means setting yourself up for judgment, which is a whole different, different level, especially for women.
Yeah. Well, and then you get into kind of the, for lack of a better term, rut that you
Yeah,
and I have found ourselves in, where you see a course or a membership or a mastermind or whatever you want to call it, and you think, wow, that actually really sounds great. Like I'm going to go. I'll probably find some people that I really, get along with, resonate
yes,
with. We're on the same wavelength for, whatever reason. But it's sort of a pay to play, right? Like you pay to get into this container and you take it and maybe you get something out of it, maybe you don't, who knows? And maybe you resonate with one or two people and you catch yourself chit-chatting on the side or like cheering each other on in the group. But as soon as it's done, they're done.
disappear.
Like,
Yeah. And that has happened many times, and you could spend 16 weeks in a course or 6 months with some of these women, and you think you are friends. And then they just evaporate into thin air like they never knew you. And it's
yeah,
hurtful. It's actually quite hurtful the first couple of times this happens. and
yeah.
and I think that can happen other places.
Wi-
We're just using the online space as an example, but I think this happens like PTAs at school, parent teacher associations. I don't know what they call them in
Oh,
Canada. But
I've
yeah,
been
you think
I've been
you're
dealing
friends with
with it
these
too. And
moms, and then you find out you're not. Because why?
yep.
You get excluded or your kid gets excluded, and it brings up a whole other level of traumas that you've been living with your whole life.
Well, yeah, it actually I'm kind of going through something like that right now, and it brings up old childhood wounds that
Yes.
I had. And it makes my heart go out to my kiddo because it's happening to me as well as it's
Yes.
happening to him. And of course, I've been debating about whether or not it's worthwhile talking to these people about it because, of course, he's not going to be going to the same school next year. So we're not going to be seeing them. And, you know, and it's my heart has gone out to him because it's what I went through as a child as well,
Yes.
like always being thought of last, never being thought of first. These people that you were like, you thought you were BFFs because you hung out all day at school and, like maybe you'd see them once in a while on a weekend, but then come Monday, you find out that I was the only one that didn't
Didn't get.
get to go and do something else. So
Yes.
yeah, everybody talks about sister wounds and all of that sort of stuff. And while I don't know if I like resonate with that term
Yeah, it's
per
a pretty
se,
extreme term. Yeah.
there is definitely some inner child wounding that
Right.
I am definitely seeing mirrored back in my kiddo right now and having to work on that. But when we're talking about these coaching spaces and how people sort of like ghost you after a time, yeah, it's no wonder why women compete with each other all the time. It's no wonder why, like we're leery
Yeah, well, like
about
I think in
opening
a
up.
couple of episodes you were talking about like, or maybe it was a TikTok, the mean girl moms. Mean girls are still very much alive and well, except they're in
Oh
their
yeah.
50s and 60s now,
Yeah.
40s, 50s,
So we
60s.
have a
It's
lot
like,
more sarcasm coming at us and
yeah, they don't,
sting.
yeah, they have even less filter than they did when you were in junior high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think, what we came together with was some of our shared experiences in this online space that we live in, and what could we do to help women feel a little less invisible. The current political climate notwithstanding, of course, that's
Right.
like a whole other issue, but just in and of itself, what could we do to help bring women together, um, not feel so invisible, um, start owning who they are? Because I think, and we probably had this conversation before, there's a reason I think that they want us to compete. because
Yes.
when we come together, oh, mama, can we do some powerful things,
Yeah.
right? And so that's sort of the community that we want to create is maybe you got to pay a little bit to play, but the idea is that you come and you find your people.
Right. And yes, like,
Yeah.
like our membership is $47 a month, but you are getting two coaches with decades of experience. So we've lived some life. And even and right now we're even in different seasons. You know, Tracy still has a young son at home. My kids are young adults now. So we've covered the gambit about what we've experienced from life. And so we're making that available to women to not only help them find their people, but to help them find the best version of themselves now that they are in their midlife, because you get to decide. You won't realize how much conforming you've done until you give yourself permission not to anymore. It's like you
And
get to,
silencing.
yes,
And, I mean, how many times were you told as a child? I was, you're too loud,
yes, be
you
seen,
know?
heard, yeah, and sometimes don't even be seen. A lot of
Hmm.
times they know when I was growing up, they didn't even want kids in the room. They would go outside, under the guise of go
Yeah.
play, when in fact they just really didn't want us around for their conversation.
Kids should be seen and not heard, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if my parents ever said that, but I know it's a term that I've heard. And I swear, my mother, I've had this conversation. She says she never said it to me. And I was like, well, if you didn't, I heard it somewhere
Well, was it said
because,
or was it just implied or inferred and you just picked up on
well,
the idea,
yeah, and
from a
that's always
conversation or
possible as
something?
well, right?
Yeah.
Because, they would have barbecues with friends and, we always had to go to bed early and we could hear them yucking it up. So
Yes.
yeah, maybe it was something that, we just took on as a, oh, well, we're not supposed to be here kind of thing,
Yes.
right? Which I know was, I don't think they necessarily meant that because if that was true, then we probably wouldn't have even been able to engage with the adults at all leading up to bedtime, which we did. So yeah, I don't know where I got it, but it's all of these things that we've taken on as women that I think is sort of our mission, our vision,
Yes.
our legacy, whatever you want to call it, that we want women to be loud. You
Yes.
know, I know some people, and I think Pam Anderson actually said it in a little thing the other day because we were talking about her recently, so it's still fresh. Is she doesn't want to be vain anymore? But again, I think that's a negative connotation. I
Right.
say be vain.
Be vain.
Like it's okay to want to look good. And
Yes.
everybody uses these words like bitch and whore and vain and all of this stuff as a bad thing.
Yes.
Why do they have to be bad? Like, why is it so wrong to want to do my hair, to wear some makeup or not,
Right.
to, have a nice shirt, like have a nice outfit put together. And then other days, I don't give a shit about my hair. I don't want to do makeup. I'm going to wear shorts and t-shirt because I'm
Right.
going to go outside and run around with my kid. But it's a conscious choice that I'm
Right.
making.
It comes back to like we were even talking about with the plastic surgery or injectables. Why are you doing it? Doing it
Hmm.
for yourself, great. If
Yeah.
you're doing it to try and get people's approval, then that's a whole different thing that's going to come back to cause you problems somewhere down the road.
Yeah. And out of all of this, Don kind of coined a term that I'm in love with, an existential invisibility, right? Like there's sort of this like stick baby in the corner kind of mentality,
Yes.
right? Where it's like, kids should be seen and not heard, but there's also this underlying women
Women, especially older
should,
women.
yeah,
Yeah.
because we're so, and I use the word collectively when I say we,
Yes.
because I don't believe it necessarily, and I know you don't,
Right.
is that you know, we are not valued like
Yeah.
everything as we get old, whether old is 35, 40, 45, like depending on who you're talking to, youth is what seems to be coveted. And
Yes.
you haven't lived when you're 20, you know,
Yeah.
like it's fun
It
and you
is
have a
fun,
good
but you're
time,
dumb.
but
If you're
yeah,
you don't know anything, you think you know
no,
everything, and you'd find out in a few years you don't know anything.
yeah. Yeah. So I don't really understand why youth is so coveted because even if you go back, I don't know, let's say 100 years, because that's not even really that long a
Right.
time. It was the women who taught. It was the women who held the records, like
Yes.
verbal records, right? Like they weren't written down or anything. It
Right.
was the women who were the storytellers.
Right.
And the witches, right? They potions, the
Yeah, they
healers.
were the
So,
healers. Yeah.
so it's like, why? And I don't think, now we'd have to go back and do some research on this unless you have, because I haven't. Most of those were the older women because the younger ones are tending the
Yeah.
babies, they're creating the families,
Right.
right? Like as we move out of our childbearing
Yes.
years, that's when we become the crones, that's when
Well,
we
no, and then
become the
that's where they
wise women.
also got into the where they started labeling women as hysterical and the hysterectomies that came from that and the lunatics for the women going crazy because of the moon and things like that. And those were all labels put on women. And a lot of times it was probably perimenopause or menopause starting to come online. And so, yeah, they were shifting, but they weren't staying in their place anymore because, as we talked about, somewhere during that phase in your 40s and 50s, the fuck budget just goes flying out the window. And then you start
Out the
talking and
window.
saying all the things you've been thinking, and
Yeah.
that was unacceptable. So their
Yeah.
answer to that was burn them. Literally,
Yeah.
or the horrible things they used to put on women to keep them quiet.
Oh, that widow thing.
That
Yeah, there was
whatever that
the
thing
Iron
was.
Maiden. The
Yeah.
Iron Maiden. Yeah. Well, and so that's kind of where we sort of have come from with
Right.
this is realizing that in our 40s and 50s, we seriously have this zero fucks given
Right.
mentality. And while I still temper some of what I have to say from time to time, because I do have a little one, we're more inclined to, like, the filter does
Right.
disappear to a degree. And we want what we've discovered for all women,
We want it for
you
all
know,
women. That's the
um,
thing. It's like we don't want to use
especially,
it to use another buzzword. We don't want to gatekeep it. It's like we actually
no,
have arrived at a point where we don't have it all figured out, but we have a lot figured out. And that's
yes,
just something you only get with time and doing a lot of work, but we're there. And that's why we're ready to share it. And we've created a place where you get pretty much everything you need from a coaching standpoint. It's like everything that's going on in your head and in your mind and in your body, we can handle that. When it comes to helping you show up like the person you want to and overcoming the blocks you have around showing up as yourself, we've got that covered. So it's internal and external. We're not going to leave you with one or the other.
no. Well, and as you just pointed out, right, like we may not know everything, but that's also what the community is for, right?
Yes.
Is like, you know, with any luck, the women coming into it will know stuff that we don't know. So
Yes.
then it will end up
Yes.
being a bit of a give and take, right? Like you may
Yes.
know something that I'm not familiar with, or, let's say we get a couple of women from Europe. They've probably got an entirely
Oh, a
different outlook,
completely
right?
different. Yes.
Than Canada or the US, which would be
Yes.
very interesting to hear, right?
Yes.
And so it's not gatekeeping any of this stuff. It's coming together in community and kind of celebrating and commiserating
Yes.
all of the changes that are going on
Right.
together and not feeling like you're alone because I know and I suspect that this is probably a large portion of the women. So like the boomers, my mother, um, didn't get any of this stuff, right? Like she sort of
Right.
had to figure it all out on her own. Her
Yes.
mother, A, didn't want to talk about it. And then also, I think my grandmother died just sort of as my mother was, like hitting her early 40s. And
Right.
so, like, when it
Where
might
that would
have
have
been
come in.
starting,
Yeah.
like, so she never had someone to bounce off of
Right.
for this stuff. And I know that I can go to my mom for it, but I also know that it's a very different world too. And some of the stuff that my mother didn't want to do, I might, or vice versa.
Right.
And, research being what it is, technology being what it is. So I feel like we need a community kind of like the one that on TikTok has created with the We Do Not Care Club. We sort of want a
Right.
mix of the We Do Not Care Club with style and speak in our minds and, somewhere where we can come together a little more. Like that's just more a TikTok thing.
Yeah.
Like you go online and you say what you say and you do what you do and you have fun and it's a bit of a
Right.
laugh and a giggle.
Yeah,
We'd like to
but then
bring,
you also have to put up with all the men typically that jump into that and have something to say. And so our community takes the best of that and kind of pushes the other to the side because it's only for women.
yeah, yeah, and can come together in a better community, not just like singular TikToks that are going on and
Right.
saying, hey, Melanie, we're part of this club and
Right.
here's what we don't care about today. You can actually say it to someone.
To someone and get support and help. So you're not just unloading and venting, you actually can get help for what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And many times it'll be from us because we go live in our membership every week, but then there will also be other women that, like you said, a global perspective, depending on where you're at and what you're dealing with, that we probably haven't even thought of some of the things that they know.
Totally. And it's a place to pose questions too, you
Yeah,
know? I mean, come in and no, you're not just going to listen to us talking heads talk all the time, right? Like,
right,
we want it to sort of be like if you ask the question, but if you don't want to ask the question, then bring it to us and we'll ask the question and maybe do
right,
some coaching around it, because there's probably bits and pieces to your mindset. Like, for example, maybe you do some EFT and some of the women don't know what that is, right? Like, I coach on human design. There's so many people that have
right.
absolutely no idea what that's about. So, this is where we're, bringing all of this stuff to help out. And I don't know. I'm pretty jazzed about this community that we're
No,
creating
I
and
really
and
am
some
too.
of
And
the
it's brand new, so we're just getting this started, but we are committed to it. We are absolutely
yes.
committed to this, and as it all involves the way we have, it's going to be fabulous in a way that we think we haven't seen fabulous like this before. And
Well, no,
where
you have
it's
no.
it's not a utopia, but it's going to be something that we haven't been able to find in our own world, so we created it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think as it we talked about it the other day, and it might have even been a conversation you and I had. Who knows?
Who knows?
We talk so much these days. Um, but it's one of those things where in the worlds that we live in, the coaching world, we've seen coaches come together for a package or a container, or like, you have like these online events where different coaches
Right.
come on and they speak about what they want and then they leave and that sort of thing. But we've never seen anything packaged quite like this, and this is where we we think it's the bee's knees,
We do.
getting a 2-for-1 coaching package for the price that we've put it at, as well as the option to hire either one of us individually, or
Right.
you know um come to either one of us with very specific mindset or style questions.
Right.
But we're both there
Right.
to assist, to help, to which
And
I
it's
think is
ongoing. It's like, yeah, because it's not something that's going to be for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or 12 weeks. It's ongoing as long as you want to be there.
yeah.
So that support will just always be there. And it's basically there almost 7 days a week. It may, like on the weekends, maybe it takes us a day to get back to a question, but we're going to be back there and we're going to be answering your question. You're not going to be left hanging or
Well, and
left.
my ultimate, and I don't, and it's as we're talking about all of this, it's just sort of something that's come to me. I think my ultimate goal out of all of this would also be like kind of a sidebar to all of this, is that as the women come in, you start to discover women that are actually close to you in your area. And so
Yes.
that if you do, hit it
Yes.
off with one or two of them, then you can kind of maybe go and
Then
create
you
your own little
start
holy
creating your own
woman,
community. Yeah.
meetup, coffees, drinks, whatever, right? So then you
Yes.
kind of take it from the online world into the real world,
Right.
and then women come together and create their own little whatever, right?
Yes.
Because I think that would be amazing.
No, that would be absolutely. And I think our membership is in the school community, and I think that is they either already have it or they're building it, where for the groups they're actually going to provide a mapping thing where you can pin where you are and find other people within a certain mile radius
Very
of you.
cool.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
they're
Oh
working
yeah.
very hard to make it a very robust community where you can do so much inside of it.
Oh, that'll be, yeah, see, that would be amazing. Is not just coming online and meeting women who are going through similar things and understand where you're coming from. I mean, for crying out loud, I've got a 10-year-old. Maybe I come in there one day and oh my God, he's like driving me nuts. How
Yeah.
many times does a boy open the fridge door and go, I can't find anything? And there it is
There's
in the
nothing
front,
to eat in
like,
here.
yeah. But then to find out that some of these women are then close to me,
Yes.
I mean, that would be great.
Yes. And not to mention, as like a lot of us are parents, not all, but you're also modeling how to go out and create new relationships to your children, which is important because, like we said,
Yes.
making friends can be hard. And so we do have to put ourselves out there a little bit in order
Yeah.
to model the good behavior. So
Yes.
it's a little bit of
Yeah.
a challenge to some of us.
For some of us, yes. Because, like I say, it's a big bad people world out there, and there's too many people out
Too many
there.
people, yeah. All right. Well,
Yes.
we're at
Yeah.
22 minutes and I know you have a meeting, so
Yes. So we've been going here we could probably talk about this for hours, but we do
yes.
also know I'm busy, you're busy, women in general are busy. So we're gonna keep this one kind of short and sweet. But yes, like, share, comment if you have any questions
Yes.
about anything we've talked about, community based. Otherwise, drop them in the comments. We'll come back. we'll chat, or I think in
Yeah,
our
and I'll pin
notes.
the our community link at the top of the comments. So if anybody's interested, they can pop over and take a look at that. And if you have any questions, just let us know.
Perfect. We'll see you
Okay,
on the next
until
one.
next time.